Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you to please rise as the Wayne Beer Marine Corps Detachment presents the colors. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. For those of you who may not know, my name is Chip Duncan. I am the Executive Director here at the Veterans Memorial Museum. It is my honor to be the director here of this museum, to honor veterans as they should be honored, to honor their sacrifice, and their duty. Today, we are here to honor Lance Corporal David Cruz, Vietnam veteran, United States Marine Corps, and I will turn the ceremony over to Colonel Massoth.
Good afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to welcome and acknowledge Lance Corporal Cruz's family, Bernadette, Ronnie and Joshua, Robin, and Ian Gurley. Before I get into the award, I'd like to give a little preamble to what this is all about today. The Purple Heart is an award that's issued in the President's name. It's the oldest continuously used award in our armed services. It originated during the Revolutionary War in the form of an armband with a Purple Heart on it. There are only 2 of those known to be in existence today. During the conflicts that followed, various devices were used and their records of issuance are for the most part unknown. However, since 1932, when the modern depiction of the medal was created, almost 2 million servicemen have earned the Purple Heart. It's issued for being either wounded or killed in enemy action against the United States. At this point, I would like to acknowledge all of those who have earned the Purple Heart that are in this room. If you would please stand up and or step forward, I would appreciate it. You will see that it is a rather small group of Americans that represent those of us that have been hurt. Anyway, thank you. Please sit down. Building up to Lance Corporal Cruz's presentation, a little bit of what he went through with the rest of the service members in Vietnam. 2.6 million men and women served in Vietnam, 58,000 and counting were killed. 304,000 were wounded, many of them multiple times. I've known of some cases 3 and 4 times. Support troops in Vietnam, servicing combat troops, had an extremely large tail to tooth ratio. What that means is that for every guy out there with a M16, there were 5 guys in the rear feeding them and supplying them. Because of this, and I brought that up because at that point, the highly coveted combat action ribbon was created to distinguish those folks that actually served and exchanged fire with the enemy. It was highly coveted, and because of that, it was made retroactive to 1961 from when the first servicemen served in Vietnam. And then in 1999, and there's probably many of you that aren't aware of this, the combat action ribbon was made retroactive to the Korean War and the World War II. That's how coveted the ribbon was. 50 years later, when Lance Corporal Cruz came home, he was like many of us of that era. We weren't treated well by those outside of our brethren. It was thought best to take off the uniform, put it in the closet, forget your service, forget your rewards, and just move on with the rest of your life. That is what Lance Corporal Cruz did. It wasn't until 2013, during a Marine Corps League meeting, that the then post-commandant, Jack Williams, discovered Lance Corporal Cruz had never received his Purple Heart nor his Combat Action Ribbon. Jack set out to get the awards. Bureaucratic red tape, much effort, and 4 years later brings us to this ceremony today. Now, if Bob Brewstrom would escort the awardee to the front, please. Originally trained as a bulk fuel operator, Lance Corporal Cruz was operating out of Da Nang Air Force Field when he was reassigned as an infantryman to Delta Company 1 Battalion 5th Marines. These were desperate times, and the Marine Corps motto of every Marine is a rifleman, when needed to do so, was called into play. This is unique to the Marine Corps, as every Marine is first trained as a rifleman prior to obtaining his or her formal school in their primary occupational specialty. During the summer of 1967 in Quang Tri Province, South Vietnam, Lance Corporal Cruz was on night patrol. During the course of that patrol, their unit came under a sustained mortar attack. Lance Corporal Cruz was wounded in the back with a shrapnel protruding from his back. Following the attack, the unit's corpsman was able to remove the shrapnel and sufficiently close the wound, using field expedient methods, enabling Lance Corporal Cruz to continue on with his mission. In addition to being awarded the Purple Heart for his actions above, he was also awarded the Combat Action Ribbon. To earn the Combat Action Ribbon must be engaged with the enemy. Lance Corporal Cruz served 3 tours in Vietnam. He was engaged many times. At this point, I would like to pin the awards on Lance Corporal Cruz. I asked earlier if Lance Corporal Cruz had anything he wanted to say, like maybe thanking his wife for putting up with him for all these years, and he said no. So that will conclude our ceremony. There is coffee and tea and cake at the back of the room here. I want to thank you all for coming.